Welcome to Stories for Sleep, a place where stories are told not to make you think more, but to allow your mind to rest more deeply. Here, we choose a slow rhythm of storytelling, a gentle voice, and themes that are interesting enough to carry you along, yet safe enough that you don't need to tense up or remember anything. Today's video brings you to a subject that might seem very awake at first glance: intelligence. But don't worry, we're not talking about scores, achievements, or the pressure to be better than someone else. The fascinating truths about intelligence in this video are told in a different way, softly, quietly, and in a manner suitable for listening before sleep. You may begin to notice that intelligence doesn't exist only in moments of effort, but is also clearly present in letting go in dreams, and in those moments when you allow yourself not to control anything. Inspired by the perspective of Carl Gustav Jung, Stories for Sleep believes that the human mind has deep layers capable of self-regulation when they are listened to in the right way. So you don't need to understand everything. Simply let the words flow past you like a calm stream. If you're preparing to sleep, stay here. Dim the lights, let your shoulders relax, and allow these small stories about intelligence to gently guide you into sleep. When we talk about intelligence, we often think immediately of scores, achievements, or minds that are constantly active. And precisely because of that, at the end of the day, when night falls, the mind often cannot settle. Unfinished thoughts, unanswered questions, silent comparisons, all of them leave the mind exhausted yet unable to rest. Perhaps the problem is not that you lack intelligence, but that we have understood intelligence in a way that is too narrow, too tense. Carl Gustav Jung once suggested that the deepest form of intelligence does not lie in a consciousness that constantly tries to control, but in the unconscious, which knows how to self-adjust when it is allowed to do so. Intelligence is not only the ability to solve problems, but also the ability to relax, to listen, and to let the deeper layers of the mind work in silence. When you sleep, the brain does not shut down. It simply shifts into another form of intelligence, quieter, more ancient, and often far wiser than the efforts of the daytime mind. This video is not created for you to learn more or memorize anything. It is a gentle invitation into a vast world of intelligence, where intelligence exists not only in humans, but also in dreams, in trees, in animals, in ecosystems that cooperate without conscious thought. You will hear about interesting facts, sometimes surprising, sometimes familiar, but told in a slow, safe rhythm enough for your mind to lower its guard. The value of this journey does not lie in how much you understand, but in the sense of release that comes when you realize you do not need to be smarter to deserve rest. Your intelligence has already worked all day. Now, it simply needs to be guided back to its proper place, where there is no pressure, no goal, only gentle curiosity and a sense of being supported. If you are listening to these words at night, allow yourself to stay. No need to focus intensely. No need to understand immediately. Just listen and allow your intelligence, in its most natural form, to slowly carry you deeper into sleep. Part 1. A lullaby leading into the mystery of intelligence. As night begins to slow down and the outside world gradually lowers its volume, another space opens, not noisy, not demanding, not requiring any response. It is a space where intelligence does not need to prove itself, does not need to perform, and does not need to be measured. A space safe enough for you to simply listen and let yourself sink down. In this opening section, we do not rush to define what intelligence is, because the act of rushing to define is itself a very daytime habit, a habit of control, categorization, and comparison. Before intelligence became scores, degrees, or achievements, it was a quiet current that helped life survive. And that current is still present even when you close your eyes. Carl Gustav Jung suggested that the deepest part of the human psyche does not operate through linear logic, but through images, symbols, and rhythm. From this perspective, Intelligence does not live only in bright consciousness, but is alive in the layers of the unconscious, where strong light is unnecessary and permission is enough. As you prepare to sleep, these deeper layers begin to speak very softly. So this video does not invite you to learn about intelligence. It invites you to remember that intelligence has never belonged only to humans. Before language, there was the intelligence of forests, knowing when to shed leaves and when to sprout anew. Before science, there was the intelligence of the ocean, quietly regulating temperature currents and life for millions of years. And before life itself, there were cosmic rhythms repeating so steadily that they almost lull themselves to sleep. In this slow rhythm of storytelling, intelligence does not appear as a main character standing in the spotlight. It is more like moonlight behind clouds, not meant to be stared at directly, yet enough to illuminate a gentle path. You do not need to remember any concepts. There is no test, no final question. Only a very soft invitation: be curious in a way that does not make you tense. Jung once wrote, "The unconscious is not just evil by nature, it is also the source of the highest good." Seen from this depth, intelligence is not something that demands more effort from you, but something that allows you to rest properly. It knows when to act and when to step back. Sleep in this sense is not a pause in intelligence. It is another form of intelligence taking over. So in this opening, we create a storytelling space, slow enough for your nervous system to feel safe. The voice does not push, does not rise, does not demand total attention. You only need to be here listening and allowing the story to flow like warm water. Intelligence is not lost when you relax. In fact, it often appears most clearly when you stop trying to hold on. The journey ahead will take you through many forms of intelligence, in dreams, animals, nature, collective systems, and the unconscious. But right now, in this opening moment, what matters most is not content, but rhythm. A slow rhythm, an even rhythm. A rhythm soft enough that your mind does not need to defend itself. If you are listening in bed, allow your eyelids to grow heavier. If you are still awake, that is fine too. Intelligence is not in a hurry. It has been waiting here for a very long time. And tonight it does not come to challenge you, it comes to lull you to sleep. As you lie down and the light in the room softens, something very natural is happening within you, even if you don't name it. The fast, sharp, controlling thoughts of the day are growing tired. They are like small waves that have struck the shore of consciousness all day long. And now, one by one, they quietly withdraw. In that space, another form of intelligence begins to appear, quiet, undemanding, and free from the need to prove itself. Carl Gustav Jung wrote, "The unconscious is not just evil by nature. It is also the source of the highest good." The unconscious is not a frightening darkness. It is where the deepest intelligence of life operates when the ego falls silent. In this pre-sleep state, you are very close to that boundary where intelligence no longer takes the shape of logic, argument, or achievement, but becomes a feeling, the feeling of existing, of being supported, of being allowed to rest. And here a gentle realization begins to emerge. Intelligence has never belonged only to humans. It existed long before language. It does not need to be named to function. It does not need to understand in the human sense. In deep forests, roots avoid each other when necessary, yet intertwine when the soil is weak. In dark oceans, creatures without eyes still know their way through pressure, currents, and signals that need no conscious awareness. In the night sky, stars do not decide their orbits, yet maintain order for billions of years. This is intelligence without thinking, intelligence without choosing, the intelligence of fitting. When you listen to stories before sleep, your mind is not searching for new information. It is returning to a very ancient biological rhythm, the rhythm of settling, releasing, trusting. Like a child, listening to a story by the fire, not to remember every detail, but to feel that the world is safe enough for sleep. Jung called this a return to archetypes, the primordial patterns of the psyche. And one of the deepest archetypes is the image of silent wisdom, the old figure in the forest, the guiding animal, the river that knows its way to the sea. or the dream that appears just when we stop forcing answers. In this state, intelligence does not need to be displayed. It only needs permission to exist. You may notice your breath slowing, not because you control it, but because your nervous system has received a signal of safety. When you no longer have to prove that you are intelligent, you begin to touch true intelligence. It does not ask, "How much do you know?" It asks very softly, "Are you listening?" Listening to the tiredness in your body, listening to the rhythm of your heart without meaning, listening to vague images drifting through the mind without arranging them. This is where intelligence in its broadest sense is doing its work, restructuring, reconnecting, releasing what is no longer needed for tonight. And the important thing is you do not need to participate. Jung emphasized that the ego is not the sole center of the psyche. Most of mental life functions best when the ego does not interfere. Just as the liver detoxifies, the heart beats, and sleep arrives when it is not forced. In this moment, intelligence is no longer something to achieve. It is something to return to. You do not need to retain information. You do not need to remember definitions. You do not need to understand in a daytime way. Simply allow the story to keep flowing like a slow river in the night, carrying away the last layers of thought, leaving the surface calm enough for sleep to come. As you listen now, you may no longer follow every word sharply, and that is perfectly fine. In fact, it is a sign that the mind is handing over control from consciousness to a deeper layer, where intelligence works without your supervision. Carl Gustav Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." But there is a gentle paradox here, because not every moment requires making the unconscious conscious, especially before sleep. Sometimes the wisest thing is not to understand, but to let the unconscious do its work. By day, consciousness is like a driver, focused, alert, constantly deciding. But at night, the driver is tired, and behind the scenes, another system is ready to take over, the system of dreams, deep memory, and non-logical connections. Dreams for Jung were not random brain activity. He saw them as natural messages, encoded in symbols rather than language, not meant to be decoded with sharp intellect, but felt with the whole being. And what is remarkable is this: dreams do not require intelligence. You do not need a high IQ to dream. You do not need education for images to appear. You do not need willpower for strange stories to arrange themselves. This is intelligence in its purest form, non-competitive, non-comparative, without goals. As you close your eyes, images may arise gently: a forest, a road, an indistinct face, or simply a sense of drifting. They do not require you to keep up. They come and go like the tides of the mind. At this depth, intelligence no longer looks like correct thinking. It becomes biological appropriateness. The body knows it needs rest, the mind knows it needs release, and the nervous system knows it is time to shift rhythms. Your eyelids may feel heavier, your breath longer, the space between thoughts wider. This is not a loss of control. It is a safe handover. In nature, no living system maintains constant tension. Day always comes with night. Activity always requires recovery. And intelligence, if truly sustainable, always knows when to fall silent. Jung called this state a return to the self, the whole larger identity beyond the ego. The self does not push. It does not command. It simply allows. And when the self is present, the ego can rest. You do not need to sleep well. You do not need to sleep correctly. You do not need to achieve sleep. Sleep is not an accomplishment of conscious intelligence. It is a gift of unconscious intelligence. In this moment, as the story continues slowly, you may allow yourself to stop trying to follow. If a sentence fades before you grasp it, that is not a loss. It is a sign that deeper intelligence has received what it needs. Like a seed that does not understand soil yet sprouts. Like the body that does not understand enzymes yet digests. Like you not needing to understand sleep in order to sleep. And when intelligence is no longer placed under the bright light of consciousness, it becomes gentler, slower, and deeper. This story is not leading you anywhere. It is simply creating a space safe enough for you not to need to go anywhere at all. There is a very thin, delicate moment you may be closer to than you realize, the moment when the mind no longer asks, "What does this mean?" No longer tries to hold the thread of the story, no longer strives to understand correctly. In that moment, intelligence does not disappear. It changes form. Jung noted that the ego prefers light clarity definition, but the deepest part of the human being, the unconscious, functions best in safe darkness. Not the darkness of fear, but the darkness of the womb of the earth of night. Their names are unnecessary. Categories are unnecessary. Right and wrong are unnecessary. Intelligence, when returned to its natural environment, is quiet, like the intelligence of the heartbeat needing no reminder, like the wisdom of breath needing no control, like the body's memory knowing when to let go. You may once have thought that intelligence was something to use to solve, analyze, prove, achieve, but here, before sleep, intelligence appears in another form, the intelligence of non-interference. You do not need to become smarter tonight. You do not need to learn anything new. You do not need to remember any interesting facts. If something needs to stay, it will stay. If something needs to drift away, it should drift. In nature, no being remains awake continuously. No living system maintains vigilance for 24 hours without collapse. And intelligence, if it is truly intelligence, always knows when to stop. As you lie still, as the light softens, as the sounds of the outside world grow distant, an ancient form of intelligence begins to operate. Not the intelligence of speed, but the intelligence of rhythm. Not the intelligence of control, but the intelligence of fit. Jung believed that humans are nourished not only by daytime consciousness, but also by the nighttime life of the psyche. Dreams, vague images, unclear feelings, all are ways deeper intelligence rebalances the system. So if you feel sleepier now, hazier, or unable to keep up with the narration, that is not a failure of attention. It is a sign of trust. Trust that you do not need to guard yourself. Trust that intelligence does not leave you when you rest. Trust that something deep within you knows how to continue, even while you sleep. And from this very quiet space, our journey will continue, not through heightened alertness, but through dreams, not through logic, but through primordial images, not through effort, but through permission. Part 2. Intelligence, born from dreams and sleep. As the story from the previous part gently settles, as intelligence no longer needs to be named, as consciousness loosens its grip on the role of controller, another door, quietly, opens. This is not the door of daytime reasoning, but the soft passage of sleep, a path humans have been walking for tens of thousands of years, long before writing science or the concept of intelligence ever existed. Here, intelligence does not appear as a sudden flash of light, but like an underground stream, slow, deep, patient. Carl Gustav Jung once wrote, "The dream is a little hidden door in the innermost and most secret recesses of the soul." For him, dreams were not a byproduct of fatigue, but a small doorway leading into the most intimate depths of the psyche. If we turn back time to our earliest ancestors, we would see something very different from how we view sleep today. For them, dreaming was not random. It was a safe training ground. In dreams, they faced predators, rehearsed escape routes, and learned how to respond to danger, all without risking their actual lives. From the very beginning, the brain knew how to create a survival simulation before real-world action. Modern neuroscience now confirms what ancient intuition already knew. During sleep, especially REM sleep, the brain activates networks related to emotion, memory, and imagination. Incomplete daytime behaviors are rehearsed at night. Crude reflexes are refined. Fragmented experiences are reorganized into meaningful structures. Sleep, therefore, is not an empty gap in awareness, but a silent reconstruction workshop of intelligence. There is a beautiful paradox here. Intelligence does not grow when we try to stay more awake, but when we allow ourselves to let go. Jung emphasized that much of the most important psychological work does not occur in consciousness. He wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Yet before the unconscious can be made conscious, it needs space to operate on its own. And sleep is precisely that space. At night, the brain does not simply shut down. It restructures neural networks, strengthening useful connections and weakening pathways that are no longer needed. This process is like tending a garden, pruning, rearranging so that tomorrow growth can happen in a healthier direction. Learning, creativity, adaptability all depend on sleep, far more than we often realize. But from a Jungian perspective, the most important aspect is not only biological. Before intelligence becomes clear thought, it exists as images, symbols, and vague sensations. Dreams are the primordial language of intelligence. They speak in images, not concepts, in emotions, not arguments. And for that reason, they often carry more persuasive power than any logical explanation. When you dream, you do not think up a solution, you see it. When you sleep, you do not force learning, you allow intelligence to reorganize itself. This is why so many breakthroughs, creative leaps, and insights arrive after a deep sleep, not after hours of strain. At an even deeper level, sleep carries a gentle message: you do not need to control everything. There is another intelligence, older and wiser, working on your behalf. Jung called it the self, the greater whole, beyond the ego. And the self does not speak when you command. It speaks when you listen, or more precisely, when you sleep. So the message of this part is not sleep to become smarter, but something far softer. Sleep is not stopping work. Sleep is intelligence returning home. If your eyelids feel heavier now, if your thoughts slow, if you stop following every sentence closely, that is perfectly fine. Your intelligence is doing exactly what it needs to do. It is stepping out of the spotlight to continue its work backstage. And when you allow sleep to arrive, you are not losing intelligence. You are returning it to where it truly belongs. If during the day intelligence speaks in concepts, numbers, and clear language, at night it changes its voice. It stops explaining. It begins telling stories. Stories that are not linear. Stories without clear beginnings or endings. Stories that make no sense to the waking mind yet reach very deep. Carl Gustav Jung once wrote a simple sentence that opens an entire inner universe. Dreams are the guiding words of the soul. Dreams are not noise from a tired brain, but whispered guidance from the soul. In dreams, intelligence does not argue with you. It presents images, a forest, a body of water, an animal, a journey with no clear destination. These images are not random. They are symbols, the natural language of the unconscious. Jung believed that before humans thought abstractly, they thought symbolically. And at the deepest level, we still do. Ancient intelligence in the brain does not say, "do this." It shows an image and lets you feel what needs to be understood. That is why a single dream can move you more deeply than hundreds of logical instructions. During sleep activity in the prefrontal cortex, the center of planning, analysis, and judgment temporarily decreases. This allows deeper layers of intelligence to speak. Old memories, unresolved conflicts, unnamed potentials all meet in the dream space. And the miracle is this: dreams do not only process the past, they also prepare for the future. Research shows that the brain uses dreams to simulate possible scenarios, not to predict accurately, but to expand its range of responses. Here, intelligence is not knowing what will happen, but being flexible when it does. From a Jungian view, dreams are also where the self gently realigns the ego's direction. When daytime roles and responsibilities pull you off center, dreams quietly guide you back inward. Not through commands, but through repetition and image. And here is something very important for you listening before sleep. You do not need to understand a dream for it to work. Dreams do not require immediate interpretation. Their intelligence functions even when you forget them, even when only a vague feeling remains upon waking. Jung emphasized that the unconscious does not need constant attention from consciousness to operate. It continues its work, quietly, precisely, in its own rhythm. So as you prepare to sleep, you do not need to tell yourself, "Tonight I must dream something useful." That would only be another form of control. Instead, simply allow. Allow images to come. Allow intelligence to speak in its wordless language. At the deepest level, dreams remind us of something comforting. Intelligence does not depend on tension. It does not require you to stay alert, to strive, to push. On the contrary, intelligence thrives when you feel safe enough to let go. If your thoughts are slowing now, if images in your mind grow hazier, if you stop tracking every word, this is not distraction. It is a sign that you are entering the space where nighttime intelligence works. And there, nothing more is required of you. There is an old misunderstanding humans have carried for a long time, that intelligence exists only when we are awake. That being smart means thinking fast, reacting quickly, remembering a lot, and controlling everything happening in the mind. Nature does not work that way, and neither does the deepest intelligence within us. When night falls, when the light softens, when the body finds its familiar resting position, intelligence does not disappear. It changes roles. It steps back from command and becomes a quiet worker behind the scenes. During sleep, the brain does not turn off. It reorganizes. Unnecessary connections are released. Essential pathways are strengthened. Scattered experiences are woven into something you can carry into tomorrow. Jung emphasized that the unconscious is not an inferior part of the psyche, but a more ancient, more expansive foundation. Consciousness is like a wave on the ocean's surface. The unconscious is the entire sea, and sleep is the moment the surface calms, allowing you without effort to come closer to that depth. There, intelligence needs no goals, no efficiency, no immediate answers. It only needs time. Time for what you do not yet understand to ferment. Time for unnamed emotions to soften. Time for future decisions to be prepared without strain. This is why insight often comes not when we force ourselves to think, but in the morning after deep sleep. Not because we are less intelligent by day, but because by night intelligence is allowed to work in its natural rhythm. And this matters deeply for you listening now. You do not need to use intelligence to sleep. Sleep is how intelligence takes care of you. When you release the need to understand everything, to remember everything, to follow the story to the end, you lose nothing. You are giving intelligence the safest possible space to continue its work. Let the images drift like clouds. No need to hold them, no need to analyze. If something settles, let it stay. If it dissolves, that is fine too. Intelligence does not measure you by attention right now. It measures you by trust. Trust that the body knows when to sleep. Trust that the brain knows when to organize. Trust that the unconscious knows how to guide even when consciousness lets go. And as you drift into the quiet space between waking and dreaming, remember there is no test waiting for you tomorrow morning. There is no requirement to be smarter right now. Intelligence has done enough for today. Now it allows itself and allows you to rest. Asterisk part 3. Intelligence is not one thing every phivem. Species every way of knowing asterisk. As you emerge from the thin, dreamlike space of sleep, with images from the previous part, not yet fully dissolved, we do not return to harsh daylight reasoning. We take just one gentle step further, into another question deeper, quieter. If intelligence grows in the unconscious, does it truly belong only to humans? In everyday thinking, we often place intelligence on a straight line, more or less. Higher or lower, smart or not smart, and conveniently humans stand at the top. But nature does not operate by rankings. In deep forests, no creature wins by being the most intelligent, only by being the most fit for its world. A pigeon can remember hundreds of locations in an urban environment and distinguish complex visual patterns that humans easily confuse. An octopus with a nervous system distributed across its arms can solve problems without a single central command center like the human brain. A chimpanzee can learn to use tools and transmit that knowledge across generations. without written language, without schools. These are not strange exceptions. They are gentle reminders that intelligence always takes the shape of the environment that created it. Humans are intelligent in human ways through symbols, language, long-term planning. Birds are intelligent through space. Fish through flow. Insects through collectives. Trees through time. Carl Jung wrote, "The psyche is not of today. Its ancestry goes back many millions of years. The mind is not a product of the present moment alone. It carries a long evolutionary memory. And within that memory, intelligence has never had just one form." When we measure an animal's intelligence using tests designed by humans, we are not truly measuring intelligence. We are measuring similarity to ourselves. A fish is not unintelligent because it cannot climb a tree. A bird is not foolish because it cannot solve equations. A human is not a failure because they think slowly, avoid competition, or struggle to remember numbers. The idea of a standard intelligence is a cultural story, not a natural law. From a Jungian perspective, each species and each person carries a different intelligence archetype. There is the intelligence of the observer, the intelligence of the timekeeper, the intelligence of the preserver, the intelligence of the pathfinder. None is superior. They are simply different roles. And when you feel tired of believing that you are not intelligent enough, it may be that you are simply using the wrong measure, like using a ruler meant for depth to measure the sky. Intelligence is not the ability to do everything better than others. Intelligence is the ability to live in harmony with the world you belong to. This matters especially before sleep, because when you lie down, you do not need intelligence to compete. You do not need to prove ability. You do not need to optimize yourself. You only need the oldest intelligence of all, the intelligence that knows when to rest. In the soft darkness of night, humans stand on no hierarchy at all. We are simply organisms returning to biological rhythm, like birds folding wings, like animals finding shelter, like plants closing leaves. There are no rankings there, only fit. If today you felt slow, unfocused, or less intelligent than expected, that does not mean intelligence has left you. It may simply be shifting into another form, quieter, deeper, less visible. Notice this when you stop forcing understanding, when you stop comparing, when you allow yourself simply to be. An ancient, gentle intelligence begins working again. It knows that not every question needs an immediate answer. Not every ability must be used at once. And not every night requires perfect sleep. Some nights, the most intelligent thing is to let go. And when you let go, intelligence in another form continues its journey, quietly, accurately, reliably. Perhaps what exhausts humans most is not a lack of intelligence, but the belief that there is only one way to be considered intelligent. From childhood, we are taught to recognize intelligence through specific signs, quick answers, strong memory, logical reasoning, test performance. Other forms, deep listening, subtle, sensing, patience with slowness, understanding what is not spoken, often go unnamed, unmeasured, and gradually forgotten. Yet in nature, these quiet intelligences are the foundation of life. A flock of birds shifts direction mid-air without central leadership. A school of fish evades predators through synchronized movement without commands. An old forest regulates water, light, and nutrients over centuries without strategic plans or meetings. This is distributed intelligence. Unspoken intelligence. Intelligence that does not need recognition to exist. Jung pointed toward something similar when he spoke of the collective unconscious, a store of knowledge that bypasses rational thought. Not all knowing needs to be thought. Some things only need permission to surface. When humans force themselves into a narrow intelligence mold, they lose the ability to hear other forms, whispering inside intuition, emotion, dream, imagery, bodily sensation. And those forgotten parts are often where the deepest intelligence lives, especially at night. Night does not support competitive intelligence. It does not require sharpness. It does not demand optimization. Night asks only for trust. In darkness, intelligence steps back from the front line, like a quiet night guard in a sleeping city. It makes no noise, issues no orders, yet remains present, keeping everything safe. If you are listening now, while tired, while your thoughts grow slow and fragmented, this may not be decline. It may be transition. Daytime intelligence and nighttime intelligence are not the same. One serves action. The other serves restoration. Both are necessary. You do not need daytime intelligence to sleep. You do not need to solve anything else. You do not need to prove anything to yourself. Let intelligence do what it has done for millions of years. Quietly reorganize everything when consciousness steps aside. Right now, being intelligent does not mean understanding more. It means allowing yourself not to understand. And in that permission, intelligence in its gentlest form will continue caring for you through the long night. Part 4. Decision Consciousness and the Illusion of Gone, Free Will. After seeing that, intelligence has many forms, that each species and each part within us knows in its own way, another question arises, naturally, softly. So who is really deciding? We grow up believing that we think first, then act, that there is a clear conscious I at the center weighing options and making final decisions. But modern neuroscience and Carl Gustav Jung's deep intuition nearly a century ago tell a gentler, humbler story. The brain often decides before consciousness speaks. Experiments show that neural signals preparing for action appear hundreds of milliseconds, even seconds before a person feels they have decided. Consciousness does not open the door first. It enters a room already arranged and then tells a coherent story about what just happened. In this sense, consciousness is a gifted storyteller, not the supreme director. It weaves sensations, memories, impulses into meaning so we can live with ourselves without chaos. Carl Jung wrote plainly and kindly, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." This does not strip us of freedom. It lightens the burden of control. If most decisions form unconsciously, our exhaustion comes not from choosing wrong, but from trying to control a process never meant to be fully controlled. In Jungian psychology, the ego is a small island floating in a vast ocean of unconscious life. It has an important role, but it is not the whole system. When the ego believes it must control everything, it burns out. When it learns to listen and step aside, psychic energy flows more smoothly. Nowhere is this clearer than at night. As you lie down, lights dim, external demands fade, the ego loses its usual tools, plans, goals, to-do lists. It has nothing left to manage. And then the unconscious, which has worked quietly all day, steps forward. Sleep does not arrive by command. It arrives when command stops. No one truly decides to sleep. Sleep emerges when unconscious conditions align. Biological rhythm hormones, safety, the body's memory, that now it is okay to let go. Trying to sleep is the ego working. Actually, sleeping is the whole system functioning. Jung expressed this beautifully. The ego is only the subject of my consciousness, while the self is the subject of my total psyche. When you try to sleep, the ego strains. When sleep comes naturally, the self is at work. And understanding this is not meant to make you think more, but to soften. Tonight, you do not need to be the decider. You only need to allow. Allow the brain to do what it has done for millions of years. Allow the unconscious to take the night shift. Allow the ego to place the keys down and rest. There is nothing more to choose, nothing left to resolve. Everything needed for sleep has already been prepared long ago. Part 5. Intelligence, born from the ability to let go. After touching a gentle yet profound truth in the previous part, that the ego is not the sole controller, that many decisions have already been prepared by the unconscious, another question quietly begins to appear. If the brain does not control everything, then where does true intelligence reside? The answer does not lie in knowing more. It lies in ignoring more. The human brain is not intelligent because it absorbs all of reality. On the contrary, it is intelligent because it is constantly eliminating. Every second, millions of signals arrive at once from the eyes, ears, skin, muscles, internal organs. If the brain attempted to process everything, consciousness would quickly collapse into chaos. From the very beginning, intelligence was never about accumulation. Intelligence is the art of selection. You do not hear the sound of your clothes brushing against your skin all day. You do not feel every beat of your heart. You do not notice gravity holding you in your chair. Not because these things do not exist, but because the brain has learned to say, "This is familiar." It does not need attention. It is precisely this ability to ignore the familiar that frees energy for what matters more: change, anomaly, danger, opportunity. At the biological level, intelligence is not seeing everything. It is knowing what no longer needs to be seen. Carl Jung recognized that most psychological life operates in the background without the light of consciousness shining upon it. He wrote, "Consciousness is like the surface of a deep lake." C.G. Jung. Beneath that calm surface are countless silent currents, and when consciousness tries to illuminate everything, the surface can no longer remain still. It becomes noisy, tense, and exhausted. This is especially true for modern humans. We live in a world that encourages constant attention, notifications, news, images, comparisons, thinking about thinking. The brain was never designed to care about everything at once. When forced to do so, intelligence does not increase, it fragments. And exhaustion appears not from lack of ability, but from the loss of the right to ignore. Here, intelligence reveals a very different face. Intelligence is the capacity to compress information, to compress experience, to compress the world into models simple enough to live with. Every concept you use room self tomorrow is a form of compression. Reality is far more complex, but the brain chooses a version that is just enough to avoid overwhelm. And at night, as you prepare for sleep, this compression deepens. The brain begins to release daytime priorities. Things that once felt important lose their sharpness. Details that were tightly held are allowed to blur. This is not the failure of intelligence. This is the peak of biological intelligence. Jung viewed sleep as a moment when the ego withdraws, so that the self, the totality, can recalibrate. He did not see letting go as weakness, but as a necessary movement of a healthy psyche. The greatest and most important problems of life are all fundamentally insoluble. They must be lived. C.G. Jung. And to live what cannot be solved by thought, the brain must learn how to stop thinking. Tonight, your intelligence does not need to do anything more. It has filtered enough, it has selected enough, it has ignored enough to bring you here. You do not need to hold on to today. You do not need to analyze it. You do not need to extract lessons from it. Let the brain do what it does best when it is not being watched: eliminate, compress, and soften the world. What matters will remain. What is unnecessary will gently fall away. And when the inner space becomes simple enough, sleep does not need to be invited. It arrives as a natural consequence of there being nothing left to hold. After touching this subtle truth that consciousness is not the only pilot, that many decisions have long been prepared by the unconscious, we encounter an even gentler paradox. Intelligence does not grow by knowing more, but by letting go of more. We often imagine a smart brain as one that sees more, remembers more, processes more, but biology tells a different story. The brain was not built to contain the whole world. It was built to filter the world. Every second, millions of signals flood in: light, sound, pressure, heartbeat, skin sensation, gut movement, memories, emotions. If all of these reached consciousness, you would not be able to stand, speak, or breathe normally. Consciousness would collapse under overload. So from the very first moment of nervous life, intelligence has been tied to elimination. You do not feel your clothes on your skin because they are familiar. You do not hear the ticking clock because the brain has learned it is harmless. You do not think about balancing when you stand because the body has taken over. These things are ignored not because they are unimportant, but because they no longer require consciousness. At its deepest level, intelligence is the ability to delegate. Delegate to the body. Delegate to habit. Delegate to the unconscious. Jung saw this early in his work. He recognized that when the ego tries to control everything, the psyche becomes rigid and exhausted. He wrote, "We cannot live the afternoon of life according to the program of life's morning." C. G. Jung. The evening of life and of each day requires a different kind of intelligence. Not the intelligence of conquest, but the intelligence of release. A smart brain is not one that is always brightly lit. It is one that knows when to dim. The ability to ignore what is familiar allows the brain to notice what is new. A strange sound at night, a subtle change in someone's expression, an unusual sensation in the body. If the brain did not ignore most of stable reality, it would never detect what truly matters. So intelligence is not constant alertness. It is a rhythm between attention and forgetting. And when you lie down at night, the brain shifts into an ancient, intelligent mode, the mode of letting go. Daytime concerns lose priority. Unanswered questions are gently set aside. Unnecessary details are softened. This is not mental laziness. This is deep housekeeping. Sleep does not come when you have thought enough. Sleep comes when there is nothing left that needs thinking. At an even deeper level, intelligence is the ability to compress the world into images simple enough to live with. Self tomorrow, problem success, all are compressions. Reality is far more complex, but the brain chooses a version that prevents overwhelm. When night falls, even these compressions are allowed to rest. You do not need to hold the entire day in your mind. You do not need to understand it. You do not need to fix it. Let intelligence do what it does best when it is not forced, filter, reduce, and soften. What truly matters will remain. What is unnecessary will fall away like leaves in a forest. And when the inner space becomes empty, enough sleep does not need to be named. It arrives very softly, like a natural reward for allowing yourself to let the world go for a moment. Part 6. Distributed intelligence and the body that knows how to think. After touching the gentle truth that intelligence arises not from holding everything, but from letting go, the story can now drift into an even deeper territory, one where intelligence is no longer confined to the head no longer centralized in a single control point, but spreads throughout the body quietly, steadily, and reliably. We are used to thinking that the brain thinks and the body merely executes. But modern biology and Carl Jung's deep psychological intuition tell another story. A story in which intelligence is not a point, but a field. Let us begin with a creature that seems distant, yet offers a calm mirror: the octopus. An octopus does not have a single dominant central brain like humans. More than half of its neurons are located in its arms. Each arm can process information, respond, and decide locally, almost independently. When an arm touches an object, it does not need permission from a central brain to curl, release, or explore further. The arm already knows what to do. Here, intelligence does not lie in control, but in intelligent distribution. And when we look more closely, we begin to realize humans are not so different. The heart knows when to beat faster or slower. The gut knows when to contract and when to rest. The immune system knows how to distinguish self from non-self. Muscles remember movements before you think of them. Many survival decisions occur outside consciousness. Consciousness arrives later, telling a coherent story so that we feel safe. Jung described this relationship delicately when speaking of the ego and the unconscious. He wrote, "The conscious mind allows us to adapt and survive, but it is the unconscious that truly lives." C. G. Jung. Life itself for Jung does not operate through rigid commands of the ego, but through a deeper, more distributed intelligence, where body and psyche are inseparable. When you walk, you do not command each muscle. When you breathe, you do not calculate each breath. When you fall asleep, you do not need to understand how to sleep. The body already knows. And here, an important truth about sleep is revealed. You do not need to think in order to be safe. Many people struggle with sleep because they try to use consciousness to control a system that was never designed to be controlled. From the perspective of distributed intelligence, sleep is not an action of the brain, it is a state of the whole body. As light dims, temperature drops, breathing slows, muscles soften, millions of small units of intelligence throughout the body read the same message at once. Safe. No central command. No correct thought. Just the right conditions. Jung warned against the inflation of the ego when consciousness tries to rule processes that do not belong to it. He wrote, "The ego is only the center of consciousness, not the center of the whole personality." C.G. Jung. This is true psychologically and biologically. You are not a lone brain controlling a machine. You are a living ecosystem where intelligence is distributed, shared, and self-regulating. At night, when consciousness steps back, this system naturally balances itself. The body thinks for you, not in words, but in rhythms. Heart rhythm, breath rhythm, hormonal rhythm, the ancient sleep-wake rhythm carved into every cell. You do not need to supervise this process. You do not need to do it right. You do not need to understand it. Like an octopus arm gripping a rock in flowing water, your body knows how to find sleep when it is not obstructed. And perhaps in this moment you can try one very small thing. Trust that not all intelligence requires consciousness. Some forms of intelligence work best in darkness. Some decisions only arrive when no one is trying to decide. And some doors to sleep open only when the body is allowed to do what it has known for a very long time. Let the mind rest. Let intelligence spread back through the body. And let tonight you be held by an intelligence that does not need to think yet always knows the way home. Part 7. Creativity. The collision of unrelated things. When the body is allowed to think for consciousness, when intelligence is no longer forced into a single control center, a very natural phenomenon begins to emerge. It is quiet, undramatic, yet one of the most subtle expressions of living intelligence, creativity. Creativity does not arrive when we strain to search. It arrives when we stop trying to connect things and allow what seems unrelated to find each other. Modern neuroscience shows that new ideas do not come from a single creative center in the brain. They appear when distant networks synchronize sensory areas, memory, emotion, imagery regions that rarely communicate during intense focus. When you relax, when you drift, when control softens, the rigid boundaries between these regions loosen. And in that looseness, fragments touch. An old scent meets an unclear image. A vague emotion brushes against a distant memory. An incomplete thought collides with an unanswered question. Creativity is not construction, it is collision. Carl Jung described this not in neurological terms, but in the language of the soul. He believed genuine creativity arises not from the intentional ego, but from dialogue between consciousness and the unconscious. He wrote, "The creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect, but by the play instinct, acting from inner necessity." C.G. Jung. The play instinct is not frivolity. It is the state where the mind is not forced to be correct, where one is allowed to wander, dream, and not conclude. This is why good ideas often come in the shower, on slow walks, or lying in bed before sleep. Not because we think more, but because we stop thinking in the old way. In relaxation, the brain is freed from rigid pathways. Strange connections appear, and that strangeness is fertile ground. Jung called this the emergence of symbols, images, with many layers not immediately explainable by logic. Symbols do not need instant understanding. They ask to be felt before they are decoded. This is especially important when we speak of sleep. Sleep is not the enemy of creativity. It is its quiet ally. While you sleep, the brain continues to mix daytime memories with old emotions, new images with ancient instincts. These collisions occur in dreams, illogical stories, yet rich with meaning. It is no accident that many discoveries, artworks, and breakthroughs have emerged from dreams or hypnagogic states. In those moments, the ego releases its grip and deeper intelligence speaks. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." C. G. Jung. But before the unconscious is made conscious, there is an essential phase, allowing it to work freely, without supervision, correction, or demand for results. That is what tonight invites you to do. You do not need to create anything. You do not need to understand the connections forming. You do not need to hold on to any idea. Just know that as you lie still, as breathing slows, as consciousness recedes somewhere inside, unrelated things are gently touching. Not to produce a work, not to solve a problem, but to keep intelligence alive in its natural rhythm. And like all natural processes, when not controlled, it knows what to do next. You may let this happen, very slowly, very softly, even as you drift into sleep. When intelligence is no longer compressed into one center, when the body is allowed to think in its own way, a subtle movement begins. It does not feel like reasoning or analysis. It feels like creativity, a thin mist, unnamed yet present. Creativity is born not from effort, but from chance meetings of what seemed unrelated. An old memory touches a new feeling. A vague image collides with an unfinished thought. A night sound slips into a forgotten question. Neuroscience shows that in relaxation, brain networks synchronize gently: sensation, memory, emotion, imagery, without command, without hierarchy, only resonance. Jung saw this long before brain scanners existed. He believed creativity arises from play between deep layers of the psyche, not as a product, but as a sign of inner life flowing. Sleep plays a special role here. When you sleep, the brain does not shut down. It enters mixing mode. Daytime memories meet ancient symbols. Unspoken emotions find dream images. Jung called dreams the royal road to the unconscious. In dreams, creativity is primal, unedited, uninterpreted, unwatched. Dreams are the guiding words of the soul. C. G. Jung. To allow those guiding words, the condition is not understanding but permission. Permission not to know. Permission for fragments to coexist without assembly. And that is what you are doing now. You do not need to create. You do not need to remember. You do not need to hold on to images. Simply lie still, let the mind drift, let unrelated things collide freely. Not to produce anything, but to let intelligence live in its natural rhythm. Like a forest that does not try to be green. Like waves that do not try to break. Like sleep that does not try to arrive. When control is released, creativity remains quiet, modest, and unconcerned with attention. And even if you do not notice it, the process continues very slowly, very deeply, as you drift into sleep. Part 8. Intelligence. Without a brain, trees, and ecosystems. When creativity is understood as a natural flow, a place where unrelated things are allowed to touch the human mind, begins to expand beyond itself. From within the brain, from flexible neural networks, we slowly step beyond the familiar boundary of personal intelligence. And there, very softly, a new question arises. If intelligence does not reside only in the brain, then where else might it exist? From this gentle threshold, our journey leads into a quieter, slower, yet equally profound space, the world of trees and ecosystems. At first glance, trees appear to be symbols of stillness. They stand unmoving, they do not run, they make no obvious sound, they show no emotion in ways humans readily recognize. Yet it is precisely this silence that once misled us. Beneath that still exterior lies a continuous, sophisticated, and strategic network of exchange. Trees have no brains, yet they are far from unintelligent. Plants communicate through chemicals. When an insect attacks a leaf, that leaf can release chemical signals into the air, warning nearby trees. Other trees, even before being harmed, hear the message, and begin strengthening their defenses. No central coordinator, no reflective consciousness, only responses precisely suited to context happening at the right time in the right measure. Beneath the soil tree, roots connect with fungi to form vast networks known today as mycorrhizal networks. Through these trees exchange nutrients, water, and even information. A stronger tree may share resources with a weaker one. A forest is not merely a collection of competing individuals, but a community capable of self-regulation. Here, intelligence does not appear as thought, but as the capacity to sustain living balance. No neurons but rhythm, no consciousness but order, no ego but persistent coordination. When Carl Gustav Jung spoke of the collective unconscious, he suggested that the deepest intelligence of humanity lies not in personal thinking, but in older, shared, and quieter structures. He wrote, "The unconscious is not just evil by nature, it is also the source of the highest good." Say, G. Jung. This sentence can be reread through the lens of nature. A forest does not think as humans think, yet it survives millions of years of climate change, fire, ice ages, and extinction. An intelligence without self-awareness, yet deep enough to adapt. At this level, intelligence is no longer an attribute of an individual, but an emergent property of the whole system. Like an ant colony finding optimal paths without any ant holding a map. Like coral reefs, maintaining complex living structures without a central brain. Like a forest, where each tree performs a small role, yet the whole operates in harmony. In sleep, the human mind sometimes touches this form of intelligence. When you stop linear thinking, stop trying to understand, stop analyzing, you begin to sense the world as a whole. No naming, no explaining, simply being within it. Perhaps that is why humans often feel at ease near trees. Not because trees do something for us, but because they remind us of a very ancient intelligence, the intelligence of existing without effort. You do not need a brain to sustain life. You do not need thinking to be held. And right now, you do not need to understand what you are hearing. Like a forest whispering underground as night falls. Like trees exchanging signals in the dark. Intelligence is still operating quietly, slowly, reliably, as you begin to let yourself drift into sleep. When we have gone deep enough into creativity, when new ideas arise not from control, but from relaxation, the boundary between personal intelligence and larger intelligence begins to blur. The question is no longer what is the brain doing, but rather does intelligence truly require a brain to exist? And here, in this gentle pause, we enter a very different land. The world of trees and ecosystems. Trees have no brains, no neurons, no thinking as humans understand it. Yet, if intelligence is defined as the ability to sense, adjust, learn, and adapt to the environment, plants perform these functions with remarkable persistence. A tree stands still, but it is not passive. It constantly monitors light, moisture, temperature, and soil chemistry. Roots listen for water and slowly change direction. Leaves read light wavelengths to decide whether to grow or rest. No central command, no orders, only biological decisions distributed throughout the body. Trees communicate chemically. When insects eat their leaves, some species release airborne compounds that warn neighboring trees. Those trees, even if untouched, begin increasing defensive chemicals. This is not isolated reflex, but distributed intelligence understanding that lives in the network, not the individual. Below ground, roots and fungi form what scientists call the wood wide web, a vast mycorrhizal network connecting entire forests. Through it, trees share nutrients, send warning signals, and even support young saplings growing in shade. A forest is not a group of competitors, but a collective living organism. Intelligence here is not consciousness, but regulation. No right or wrong thinking, only appropriate response. No ego, only balance. Jung believed that much of human intelligence resides not in consciousness, but in deeper, older layers. He wrote, "The unconscious is not just evil by nature, it is also the source of the highest good." C.G. Jung. Seen this way, a forest becomes a living symbol of the collective unconscious. No one commands, yet everything functions. No one understands the whole, yet the whole exists. Intelligence does not need to be known to be effective. This contrasts sharply with how humans often define intelligence, speed, problem-solving language. Trees teach another form, intelligence of rhythm, of knowing when to grow, when to stop, when to shed leaves to continue living. Perhaps that is why being in nature calms the human mind. Not because the forest speaks, but because our nervous system recognizes a familiar order, one without control, without pressure to understand or decide or become. In sleep, the mind operates like a forest. No linear logic, no command center. Thoughts arise, connect, dissolve. Memories reorganize. Emotions rebalance. Intelligence works in silence. You do not need to think for intelligence to exist, just as trees do not need brains to live. Right now, as you listen, deep systems within you are still working slowly, precisely, reliably, like roots finding paths in darkness, like forests whispering beneath the soil at night. And in this ancient rhythm, you may allow yourself to rest. Part 9. The brain predicts the future in a fraction of 5 a second. As we leave the silent forest of trees, where intelligence exists without brains, without consciousness, guided only by rhythm and regulation, a gentle question naturally arises, as light as the breath before sleep. How does intelligence operate within humans when we seem always to be slightly ahead of the present moment? From distributed ecosystem intelligence, we move into another form, predictive intelligence. Here, the brain does not wait for the world to happen and then respond. Instead, it continuously whispers to itself about the future, many futures, even when you are unaware. The human brain is a quiet simulation engine. In every fraction of a second, it constructs countless scenarios. What if I step forward? What if I stop? What if that sound is danger? What if it is only wind? These drafts of the future appear and disappear too quickly for consciousness to notice. Yet your actions, a blink, a faster heartbeat, a subtle shift, carry their traces. Modern neuroscience tells us the brain is not a mirror reflecting reality, but a prediction machine. It compares predictions to incoming signals and calls the difference experience. In other words, you do not live in pure present time, but in a future the brain has just simulated. This may sound complex, but in the slow rhythm of night it feels gentle. For if the brain is always predicting, intelligence lies not in being perfectly right, but in adjusting predictions flexibly. Carl Jung saw this long before neuroscience named it. He wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." C.G. Jung. The many futures your brain simulates belong to that unconscious. They guide you away from danger towards safety and sometimes keep you awake at night. Not because the brain wants to exhaust you, but because it is trying to protect you by preparing ahead. Here, intelligence is not knowing everything in advance, but selecting among predictions. The brain does not simulate to control the future, but to reduce surprise. And when the environment feels safe, soft, light, familiar sounds, slow breath, the need for prediction naturally decreases. Then intelligence begins to let go. Perhaps that is why the brain continues to dream during sleep. Dreams are not random. They are safe simulation spaces where scenarios run without action. Jung saw dreams as a doorway into dialogue between consciousness and the unconscious, a place where deeper intelligence speaks without strain. Dreams are the guiding words of the soul. C.G. Jung. If daytime intelligence is prediction plus choice, nighttime intelligence is prediction without decision. And that is when the nervous system truly rests. Right now, as you listen, your brain is still predicting, but the futures are slowing, softening. They no longer demand action, no longer require choice. You do not need to keep up with your intelligence. It has worked enough today. Like a forest functioning through the night, Your brain knows how to keep watch, gently allowing you to drift into sleep, where the future is set down for a while, and the present is allowed to dissolve into calm, leaving behind the idea of intelligence without a brain. Where forests and ecosystems think together without a center, we touch another human form of intelligence prediction, an intelligence that does not wait for the world but moves one breath ahead. The human brain does not live in pure present. It lives in a stream of futures continuously simulated. Even as you lie still, eyes closed doing nothing, the brain quietly drafts scenarios. What if a sound appears? What if the body needs to turn? What about tomorrow? These futures flash and fade too fast for naming. Neuroscience calls this predictive processing. In the quiet rhythm of night, we might call it something gentler, life's instinctive foresight. Intelligence at its deepest is not knowing more, it is being prepared. Your brain does not wait for danger. It tests many imagined dangers and chooses the least costly response. That is why every small action, a blink, a slower heartbeat, a vague sense of safety carries the imprint of futures that never occurred. Jung recognized this symbolically long before neural signals were measured. He wrote, "The unconscious is not just evil by nature, it is also the source of the highest good." C.G. Jung. Most predicted futures come from the unconscious, which ultimately seeks to protect life. It does not ask consciousness whether to worry. It simply does what it was born to do. Intelligence, then, is not perfect prediction but adaptive adjustment. When the environment is safe, familiar bed, familiar darkness, familiar sounds, the brain understands it no longer needs to outrun the future. This is the threshold of sleep. Here, intelligence does not disappear. It changes form. Instead of predicting to act, the brain predicts to dream. Dreams become safe simulations, where possibilities unfold without response. Jung called dreams the direct voice of the unconscious, where deeper intelligence reorganizes the world without ego control. Dreams are the spontaneous self-portrayal in symbolic form of the actual situation in the unconscious. C.G. Jung. If daytime intelligence is prediction plus decision, nighttime intelligence is prediction without decision. And this absence of decision is the greatest gift to a tired nervous system. You do not need to think everything through before sleep. Your brain has simulated enough. Necessary futures will return tomorrow. For now, intelligence may set them down like a night watchman, leaning back alert but relaxed. Right now, predictions slow. They soften. They ask nothing. Intelligence does not need you to follow it. It has done enough today. And as the future retreats, the present opens smooth, without pressure, allowing you to drift into sleep where intelligence continues to exist, but in the rhythm of peace. Part 10. Error, Noise, and Imperfection as the Rekuwiv, Source of Intelligence. As predictive intelligence gently closes the door on the future, as the brain stops racing ahead, we enter a more delicate, more human space. Here, intelligence is no longer seen as a perfect machine, but as a living flow of error noise and small mismatches. And here a soft truth emerges. Intelligence is not born from perfection, but from accepted imperfection. If we look closely at the brain, we see a paradox. Neurons, the foundations of intelligence, do not operate with perfect precision. They fire early or late, misread signals, respond too weakly or too strongly. In machines, this would be error. In the brain, it is essential. The brain is not designed to copy reality perfectly. It is designed to adapt, and adaptation requires space to try, err, and adjust. Noise is not something to eliminate. It is the space where novelty emerges. If neurons responded identically, if predictions always matched, there would be no creativity, no flexibility, no resilience. Jung touched this essence when he described the psyche as a living system never fully balanced. He wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." C.G. Jung. This pain is not only emotional, It is the tension created by openness, by contradiction, deviation, and the unexplained. These gaps force the psyche to move, connect, and grow. Neural noise is like the nighttime murmur of a forest. No sound is isolated. Wind touches leaves, leaves touch branches, branches stir and fall silent. In that ambiguity, life is felt. The brain does not need clean signals. It needs gentle motion. If intelligence arose from perfect machines, the most accurate machines would be the most intelligent beings. But they are not. Living intelligence hesitates, wanders, shifts direction. It needs small errors to avoid becoming trapped. At a deeper Jungian level, this speaks to wholeness. Jung taught that wholeness is not perfection. Individuation becoming oneself includes fragments, irregularities, contradictions. Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries. C. G. Jung intelligence grows not by removing noise, but by learning to live with it. Not by total control, but by regulation. Not by sealing cracks, but by listening to what cracks reveal. At night, this imperfection becomes a lullaby. You do not need to think correctly. You do not need to understand fully. Thoughts may drift, touch lightly, and dissolve. Nothing needs completion. Intelligence does not disappear. It rests within its own imperfection like a lake, not perfectly still yet calm enough to reflect moonlight. You do not need to be a perfect machine to be safe. Your mind does not need precision to be intelligent. In this small permission, allowing error, allowing noise, the nervous system relaxes. Intelligence, after a long day, returns to its most original form, a living flow that adapts, releases, and sleeps. Leaving the idea of a perfectly predictive brain, we encounter a gentler truth. Intelligence grows from small errors, subtle noise, and misalignments, often called flaws. Neurons oscillate, drift, respond differently. This is not defect, it is freedom. If the brain were perfect, thought would repeat endlessly. No flexibility, no creativity. Nature accepted error not by accident, but because intelligence requires blur to evolve. Jung saw this when he wrote, "The psyche is not a machine that can be remodeled at will." C. G. Jung. The mind is an ecosystem. Ecosystems need diversity even in deviation. Wandering thoughts, untimely feelings, fleeting images before sleep, these are noise. And in that noise, new connections safely form. Neuroscience shows moderate noise helps learning. Uncertainty softens networks. Intelligence grows not from certainty, but from tolerance for ambiguity. We tire not from lack of intelligence, but from striving for perfection, trying to think correctly, control everything. The mind was never meant to operate that way. Jung said, "What you resist persists." C. G. Jung. When we fight imperfection, it tightens. When we allow it, the system self-regulates. Noise fades not by force, but by being heard. And here this part becomes a lullaby. You do not need to optimize. Thoughts may drift like thin clouds. The sky need not be clear for night to be calm. Intelligence has done enough today. Errors may rest. Noise need not be fixed. In this very human imperfection, the brain finds its slow rhythm again. Intelligence does not vanish, it shifts into rest mode where connections reorganize quietly, gently, and reliably. You may allow your mind to be imperfect tonight and still be completely safe. Part 11. Tiny intelligence. Small brains, great design. After letting go of the idea that intelligence arises from absolute perfection, and allowing space for subtle errors and necessary noise, we can take one more very gentle step forward into an even softer truth. Intelligence does not need to be large in order to be profound. From the warm, hazy space of the previous section, where the brain was allowed to be imperfect, we now lower our gaze toward beings that are very small, very humble, and discover in them a kind of intelligence that naturally slows the human. Mind quiets it and releases it from the pressure to be great. A honeybee has a brain smaller than a sesame seed, and yet it can recognize human faces. memorize complex flight paths, navigate by the sun, communicate through dance, and make remarkably accurate collective decisions. When scientists first demonstrated that bees could distinguish faces, a skill once thought to belong only to large brains, the very definition of intelligence became fragile. Not because bees are like humans, but because intelligence was never dependent on size alone. In nature, efficiency often matters more than quantity. A small network, elegantly organized, can accomplish what a bulky system cannot. A bee's brain does not process everything. It processes only what is necessary. It does not try to understand the world, but responds precisely to what matters for life. Intelligence here is the art of economy. Minimal energy, minimal resources, perfectly placed. This touches a deep illusion of modern humanity. The belief that being more intelligent means thinking more. Nature whispers a different message. Thinking just enough at the right moment, with the right structure, is sustainable intelligence. Carl Gustav Jung alluded to this necessary limitation when he spoke of conscious mind, the part we often identify as me. Consciousness is only possible through continual recognition of the unconscious. C.G. Jung consciousness does not need to encompass everything. It needs to cooperate with deeper layers. Just as a bee's small brain does not know everything but trusts an evolutionary structure refined over millions of years, intelligence is not about holding more, but about knowing what to leave behind. From a Jungian perspective, the tiny intelligence of small creatures becomes a beautiful symbol of the self, the whole that does not need to announce itself. The self does not need to be loud to prove anything, or to expand endlessly. It only needs to exist in its rightful form. A harmonious design, even a small one, can hold deep wholeness. And if you allow yourself to feel this slowly, gently, a soft comfort may arise. Perhaps you do not need to expand your brain or optimize yourself every day. Perhaps your intelligence does not lie in thinking more, but in being organized in a way that fits you. Like a bee, you do not need to understand the entire forest to find your way back to the hive. Jung once wrote, "The shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases." C.G. Jung. There is no single size of intelligence for everyone. No universal standard of a big brain that guarantees wisdom. Some minds are very quiet, very modest, yet operate with remarkable precision and gentleness. Some people speak little, analyze little, yet make deeply grounded decisions because their inner structure is well placed. As night falls, this is an easy thought to sleep with. You do not need to become bigger in your thinking. You do not need to gather more knowledge or understand one more thing. Intelligence is not measured by capacity, but by fit. And the moment you allow yourself to become smaller, simpler, less strained, the nervous system begins to breathe more slowly. Like a bee returning to its hive as the light fades, your mind too can fold inward, setting down what does not need to be carried into sleep. No bigger brain is needed. No more thinking is required. Only a design gentle enough for you to rest safely within yourself. After touching the truth that intelligence arises not from perfection, but from subtle errors and necessary gaps, we are invited even deeper into a gentle paradox. Intelligence does not need to be large to be great. In the soft darkness of evening, when the mind is no longer pushed to be more, faster, or greater, small beings begin to whisper another story of intelligence, efficiency, and sufficiency. Think of the bee. Its brain weighs only a few milligrams smaller than a grain of rice. Yet with that humble structure, it can recognize human faces, learn complex flight routes, remember flower locations over time, navigate by the sun and Earth's magnetic field, and communicate with astonishing precision through dance. The bee's intelligence lies not in volume but in design. In nature, size is rarely the measure of effectiveness. A small system properly organized can surpass large and cumbersome ones. A bee's brain does not process every possibility. It is not overwhelmed by endless options. It processes only what is necessary for survival, and it is precisely this limitation that creates its strength. Intelligence here is the art of stopping at the right place. This mirrors something deep within the modern human mind, where we often believe that being smarter means thinking more, analyzing more, accumulating more. Nature tells a different story. Intelligence is not infinite expansion, but the ability to compress, filter, and choose. A mature intelligence does not attempt to hold the entire world, but knows clearly what deserves attention and what may rest in the dark. Carl Gustav Jung once wrote of the necessary limits of consciousness. Consciousness is only possible through continual recognition of the unconscious. C. G. Jung. Consciousness was not born to control everything. It was born to cooperate. Just as the bee's small brain does not carry the full burden of survival alone, but relies on evolutionary structure, collective rhythm, and natural cycles refined over millions of years. Intelligence here is not domination but harmony. From a Jungian perspective, this tiny intelligence becomes a powerful symbol of the self, the whole that does not need display. The self does not need to be loud to exist. It does not need proof. It is complete, even in modest form. A balanced inner structure, though small, carries the weight of wholeness. This offers deep comfort to the tired mind. Perhaps you do not need to upgrade yourself endlessly. Perhaps you do not need to expand your intellectual capacity or sharpen your thinking every day. Your intelligence may already be functioning well, simply according to a design that fits your nervous system and your rhythm of life. Jung wrote, "The shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases." C. G. Jung. There is no universal size of intelligence, no large brain standard that guarantees wisdom. Some minds are quiet, slow, sparse, yet capable of deeply humane, precise decisions. Like bees, they do not need to know the whole forest to find their way home. They only need to sense the right signals. As night comes, this is a thought that rests easily with sleep. You do not need to be smarter right now. You do not need to process anything further. Intelligence is not measured by the number of thoughts, but by how well you fit within the world. Like a bee returning to the hive as the light dims, your mind can gently fold inward, setting down what is unnecessary for tonight. No bigger brain, no more thinking. Only a structure gentle enough for you to rest safely in your true shape. Part 12. The brain predicts reality and tells the preview story of the world. After listening to the story of small brains with exquisite design, the mind naturally moves into a deeper space, one where intelligence does not reside only in physical structure, but in the way the world is narrated within us. Here, the brain is no longer seen as a camera reflecting reality, but as a quiet storyteller, always one step ahead. Modern neuroscience shows that the brain does not wait for the world to happen before responding. Instead, it predicts continuously and relentlessly. Before light touches the retina, before sound is truly heard, the brain has already prepared a draft of what is about to appear. What we call reality is in fact the small error between prediction and actual signal. The brain predicts, the world responds, and that tiny difference is named lived experience. In other words, you do not see the world as it is. You see the world as your brain expects it to be, then adjusts gently when needed. This may sound unsettling, but strangely, it is the foundation of stability. Through prediction, the brain saves energy. Through storytelling, it prevents overwhelm in the face of the universe's vast data stream. Carl Gustav Jung touched this insight early when he wrote, "Man does not perceive the world as it is, but as he is." C. G. Jung. The outer world is never fully separate from the inner world. What you call truth always carries traces of memory, belief, symbol, and dreams never named. The brain does not only predict physics, it predicts meaning. It asks, is this dangerous? Is this familiar? Is this important? And from those questions, a story is written. From a Jungian view, this is where the unconscious participates in constructing reality. The unconscious is not silent. It whispers through symbols, vague emotions, intuitions, and interpretations. Jung wrote, "The unconscious is not just evil by nature, it is also the source of the highest good." C.G. Jung. The story the brain tells is not always accurate, but it is often protective. A familiar world, even an edited one, feels safer than a completely unknown one. Thus, the brain favors continuity over absolute truth. It fills gaps, softens details, keeps your story going even when data is incomplete. Perhaps this is why when night falls, when light dims and the outer world quiets, the brain begins to slow its storytelling. Predictions soften. Narratives no longer need coherence. Dreams appear not to mirror reality, but to rewrite it more gently for the psyche. You do not need to fix your story right now. You do not need to understand what your brain is predicting. Just know this: the reality you experience has been filtered, supported, and narrated gently enough for you to exist. And when you allow yourself to rest, the brain, too, can loosen its role as storyteller, letting the world dissolve briefly into silence. Tonight, you do not need a perfect story, only a story calm enough to set down all predictions and allow reality to be told again tomorrow. After passing through the world of small, finely designed brains, where intelligence lies not in size but in structure, the story now opens into an even deeper layer. The brain does not merely process the world, it tells the world to us. And that story, repeated every second, is what we call reality. For centuries, humans believed they saw the world as it truly was. Modern neuroscience gently lifts that veil. The brain is not a mirror. It is a prediction engine. Before light reaches your eyes, before sound reaches your ears, before you consciously notice anything, the brain has already sketched a scenario based on memory, habit, and deep beliefs rarely seen. The reality you experience is not a copy of the outer world. It is the small error between what the brain expected and what actually arrived. If reality matches prediction, little updating is needed. If it differs slightly, the brain edits the story quickly, softly, without your awareness. You live in an edited world. Jung captured this in symbolic language. Man does not perceive the world as it is, but as he is. C.G. Jung. This is not a judgment. It simply acknowledges that we always bring ourselves into perception. The brain tells the world in the way it believes is safest for you. A fully unpredictable world would be terrifying, so the brain chooses familiarity, preserving old stories and blurring what is too different. At a deeper level, the unconscious speaks directly into this storytelling. Vague fears, unnamed desires, ancient symbols inherited through culture and evolution all whisper as reality is constructed. Jung called this the voice of the collective unconscious. The unconscious is not just evil by nature, it is also the source of the highest good. C.G. Jung. Thus, the world is never purely out there. It is always a quiet dialogue between physical signals and inner narrative. When you are tired, the story darkens. When you feel safe, it softens. When night falls and stimulation fades, the brain reduces prediction precision. It allows ambiguity, and in that ambiguity, dreams arise. Dreams do not aim to reflect reality. They rewrite it in a gentler language. Sharp daytime tensions become images, symbols, fragmented stories, allowing you to continue without needing full understanding. And perhaps this is what matters most for sleep. You do not need to control the story your brain is telling. You do not need to correct it. You do not need to make it right. Tonight, know that your brain has worked all day to keep the world stable, predicting, filtering, narrating, editing. Now it may rest in safe uncertainty. Reality may blur. The story may remain unfinished. And in that quiet space, you are allowed to drift into sleep. Part 13. Language, Symbols, and Social Intelligence. After gently realizing that reality is not merely out there but a story continuously edited by the brain, another door opens, the door of language and symbol. For if the brain is the silent storyteller of the individual, then language is how those stories are shared, transmitted from one mind to another, gradually forming a shared world. Language did not arise from the need for perfect description. It arose from the need for connection. Long before humans spoke, many species communicated. Dolphins create unique whistles, like personal names. Humpback whales pass complex songs across generations, changing slightly each year, like a living culture. Parrots do not merely mimic sounds. They invent new signs and use words appropriately in social contexts. These examples show that intelligence is not only information processing, but the sharing of meaning. When a species lives alone, its intelligence serves individual survival. But when life becomes collective, another layer emerges: social intelligence. At this level, behavior aims not only at physical goals, but at maintaining relationships, roles, and trust. It is here that symbols are born. Symbols need not be precise. They need to be shared. A sound, a gesture, an image repeated and emotionally charged becomes a bridge between minds. Language is not a map of the world, but a map of agreement. It allows many different brains to inhabit a world similar enough to cooperate. Carl Gustav Jung saw this clearly. Symbols are the language of the unconscious. C. G. Jung. Symbols do not speak in logic. They speak in feeling, association, collective memory. When shared, they transmit not just information, but psychological state. A lullaby, a myth, a familiar image all soothe the nervous system by telling the deeper self you are not alone. At this level, intelligence is no longer individual but communal. The ability to dream together. A community survives not because everyone thinks alike, but because enough shared symbols allow understanding without explanation. Language saves mental energy, reduces uncertainty, and most importantly, creates safety. Jung emphasized man lives in a symbolic world. C. G. Jung. As night falls, external language quiets, but inner language awakens. Vague images, unfinished stories, symbols without explanation, these are how social intelligence and the unconscious continue to whisper. They do not ask you to understand. They ask only that you listen. And perhaps this is the greatest gift of language and symbol. They allow you to release the need to understand everything. You do not need to analyze. You do not need to hold meaning. Tonight, let symbols drift like slow waves. Let the shared story of humanity told across thousands of generations lull you into sleep. Intelligence has done its work. Now, you may rest. After recognizing that reality is a story told by the brain, a deeper question arises. If each individual lives in their own story, what allows us to share a common world? The answer lies in language, symbols, and social intelligence. Language was not created to describe reality with precision, but to connect nervous systems to create enough shared experience for community to exist. Long before speech, many species used symbols. Dolphins developed signature sounds like names. Humpback whales pass songs through generations, changing gradually like living memory. Parrots not only imitate sounds, but use them contextually, a clear sign of social intelligence. These examples show that intelligence is not only problem-solving, but sharing models of reality. Solitary intelligence focuses on survival. Social intelligence expands reading emotion, predicting response, maintaining bonds. Symbols arise in this space. Symbols need not be exact. They must be commonly felt. A sound, image, or story, if familiar, carries emotion, memory, and biological response. Language is not a map of reality, but a map of agreement. It allows cooperation, care, and protection. Jung wrote, "Symbols are the language of the unconscious." C. G. Jung. Symbols speak beyond reason into collective memory. Shared symbols transmit psychological states. A lullaby does not need explanation. A fairy tale need not be logical. They work by synchronizing nervous systems. Here, intelligence belongs to relationship. Community exists not through identical thinking, but through shared symbols that reduce uncertainty and create safety. Man lives in a symbolic world. C. G. Jung. Humans live not only in material reality, but within stories, rituals, and images passed through time. At night, when spoken language quiets, inner language rises. Dreams and symbols continue the whisper of social intelligence. And so, before sleep, you need not understand anything more. You only need to be held by familiar stories, soft, safe, and shared. Intelligence has completed its task, connecting you to humanity, to history, longer than your life. Now you may let go. Language may rest. Symbols may fade. And social intelligence, which carried you through the long day, may gently carry you into sleep. Part 14. Learning from mistakes, contradictions, and surprise. After passing through language, symbols, and social intelligence, one truth becomes clear. Intelligence does not grow in smoothness. It grows in moments that do not fit. When shared stories fracture, when symbols fail, when predictions collapse, intelligence begins to learn. This is where mistakes, contradictions, and surprises step into the center. The brain is not designed to always be right. It is designed to predict, then adjust. Every thought, action, and reaction relies on a silent model of the world. When the model works, energy is conserved. When it fails, a special signal arises: surprise. Surprise is the spark of learning. Neuroscience shows the brain restructures most strongly, not when things go smoothly, but when prediction error occurs, the gap between expectation and reality. In that moment, the nervous system opens, becomes flexible, ready to rewrite old maps. Intelligence is shaped not by certainty, but by uncertainty. This aligns deeply with Jungian insight. Jung wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." C. G. Jung mistakes often carry discomfort. Contradictions bring anxiety. Surprise briefly removes control. But these feelings signal that an old structure is cracking to make room for something more fitting. Without cracks, nothing changes. In daily life, humans try to avoid mistakes. We want to be right, certain, in control. But biologically, being wrong is not failure, it is data. It tells the brain this model needs updating. Learning accelerates. Children learn this way naturally. They fall, rise, try again without shame. Each fall updates the nervous system. As adults, ego intervenes. We moralize mistakes. Wrong equals weak. That judgment slows intelligence. Jung described this as conflict between ego and unconscious. Ego wants consistency. The unconscious wants wholeness, and wholeness includes contradiction. The acceptance of oneself is the essence of the whole moral problem. C. G. Jung. When we allow imperfection, inconsistency, and uncertainty, intelligence breathes. The brain no longer defends self-image and can devote energy to learning. Contradiction becomes a doorway. This matters especially at night. Daytime requires order. Night allows order to rest. Unanswered questions, mixed emotions, unfinished thoughts, all may be set down. The unconscious will work during sleep, reorganizing, reconnecting, learning beyond consciousness. You do not need to resolve everything before sleep. You do not need to fix every mistake. Intelligence does not ask that of you. It asks only permission. Permission to not understand. Permission to remain unclear. Permission for surprise to exist without explanation. Because in the quiet dark of night, the brain is still learning, still adjusting, still becoming more intelligent gently. And right now you may rest. After language, symbols, and social intelligence, we reach a deeper layer where intelligence operates through breaks rather than coherence. Here it learns fastest in error, contradiction, and moments that pause us. the brain was not born to be right, but to predict, err, and adjust. Surprise is not a failure, it is the strongest learning signal. When prediction error appears, neural networks soften and reorganize. Intelligence grows through mismatch. Jung saw contradiction not as pathology, but as life in motion. There is no coming to consciousness without pain. C.G. Jung discomfort signals growth. Without small breakdowns, no real development occurs. Modern life teaches fear of error, but biologically misunderstanding is information. Children know this instinctively. Ego later adds judgment. Jung wrote, "The acceptance of oneself is the essence of the whole moral problem." C.G. Jung. Allowing imperfection frees intelligence. Energy shifts from defense to learning. At night, unresolved pieces may rest. The unconscious will continue quietly. You do not need to solve everything. You do not need certainty. In the stillness of night, the brain learns, restructures, and grows wiser very softly. And now you may rest. Part 15. Planning, simulation, and causal thinking. After moving through mistakes, contradictions, and surprises, where intelligence learns to grow by accepting imperfection, we arrive at a more subtle, quieter, yet profoundly important capacity, the ability to plan, simulate, and think in terms of cause and effect. Here, intelligence no longer merely reacts to the present, but begins to live in the future right from this moment. In nature, humans are not the only beings with this capacity. Ravens can store tools for situations that have not yet occurred. Certain primates prepare multiple steps ahead to achieve future goals. Even small spiders plan within the structure of their webs, adjusting shape, tension, and placement based on predictions about prey yet to arrive. There are no spoken thoughts, no conscious maps, yet one thing is clear: they imagine chains of consequence. At this level, intelligence is no longer reflex. It is the capacity to simulate. The brain constructs scenarios that have not yet happened, silently tests them, and then chooses the path with the least risk. The actions we take today often carry the imprint of futures that have never existed, futures rehearsed quietly in the dark. Neuroscience shows that when we think about the future, many of the same brain regions activate as when we actually experience it. The brain does not draw a sharp line between what has happened and what might happen. This is why planning is not merely a cognitive skill, but an emotional state. A vividly imagined future can make the heart race, the body tense or relax, even though it has never occurred. Here, causal thinking emerges: if this, then that. If I choose this path, what follows? If I choose differently, what consequences arise? This chain of thought creates a sense of control, but it can also generate anxiety when the ego tries to simulate too many futures at once. Carl Gustav Jung saw this limit clearly. He did not deny the value of conscious planning, but he warned against the illusion of control. Jung wrote, "The intellect has little to do on the way to discovery." C.G. Jung, not because intellect is useless, but because conscious intelligence is only a small part of the total process of living. Beneath planning lies a deeper layer, where the unconscious is also calculating, not through logic, but through feeling, symbol, and experience accumulated over time. When consciousness and the unconscious cooperate, planning becomes gentle. We no longer force the future to unfold exactly as simulated, but use simulation as a guiding light, not a verdict. Intelligence then no longer tightens us, but reassures us as we move forward. Interestingly, many of the most important simulations do not occur when we are awake, but when we rest. During sleep, the brain continues to run scenarios, test new causal chains, and connect information that once seemed unrelated. We wake with a sense of knowing, without knowing why, the result of intelligence working silently through the night. Therefore, you do not need to complete every plan before sleep. You do not need to think through every next step. Intelligence does not demand a perfect map. It only needs space. space for natural simulation, space for multiple possibilities to coexist, space for the future to remain open rather than locked. And when that space appears, something deeply human begins to surface: emotion. Because no plan is ever fully separate from feeling. No chain of cause and effect exists without touching relationship. Intelligence in the end is not merely prediction, it is prediction together. And here, as intelligence begins to lean toward connection, we step into an even deeper layer where emotion, empathy, and relational intelligence begin to speak. After all the mistakes, contradictions, and unexpected moments that intelligence must pass through in order to mature, we arrive at a very special capacity of life: planning, simulation, and causal thinking. This is not loud intelligence, nor hurried thought. It is intelligence that knows how to wait, how to look beyond the present moment, and how to place itself within a longer current of time. In nature, this capacity appears earlier than we might expect. A raven hides food in several locations and returns to the correct one days later. Certain primates stack stones, use sticks, and prepare tools for situations that have not yet occurred. Spiders, in silence, design hunting webs like probabilistic maps, each thread carrying a prediction about wind insects and the near future. None of these creatures think in words. Yet all share one thing: they imagine sequences of consequence. They do not merely react to what is happening, but act based on what could happen. And here we touch a very deep definition of intelligence. Intelligence is the ability to live with the future while remaining in the present. The human brain does this constantly. Every small decision, turning left or right, speaking or remaining silent, moving forward or stopping, carries traces of futures that never existed. Neuroscience shows that when we imagine an action, motor regions activate almost exactly as if we were performing it. The brain does not wait for the future to arrive. It rehearses it in advance, in the darkness of the unconscious. Yet this is also why causal thinking can become a double-edged sword. When the ego believes it must control every chain of consequence, intelligence tightens. When we attempt to simulate too many scenarios at once, the future becomes a burden rather than a guide. Jung warned gently but deeply of this when he wrote, "We cannot live the afternoon of life according to the program of life's morning." C.G. Jung. Conscious planning is necessary, but it is not the sole commander. Beneath it lies another intelligence, the intelligence of the unconscious, where patterns form not through logic, but through feeling, memory, and lived experience. When consciousness listens to this layer, plans soften. When it suppresses it, plans harden and easily fracture. One important truth remains: most of the most intelligent simulations do not happen while we are awake, but while we rest. In sleep, the brain continues weaving causal chains, connecting scattered data, exploring paths the daytime mind could not calmly consider. We awaken with a vague sense that things will be okay even without a concrete plan. This is not illusion, it is intelligence working quietly. So before sleep, you do not need to finish every plan. You do not need to think through every next step. You do not need to know exactly where the future is heading. Intelligence does not require you to grip the future tightly. It only asks that you leave space for it to form naturally. When you loosen control, the brain continues to simulate. When you rest, causal chains are still being woven. And when you allow yourself not to know everything, intelligence shifts into another form, relational intelligence, where emotion, empathy, and connection begin to lead. And that is when, very naturally, we move into the next deeper layer of this journey, where intelligence is no longer only about predicting the future, but about being together, feeling together, and sustaining living communities. Part 16. Emotion, empathy, and relational intelligence. After passing through the layers of prediction, planning, and future simulation, the journey gently guides us into another form of intelligence, relational intelligence, where emotion is no longer noise but the adhesive that sustains shared life. At this level, intelligence is not measured by individual problem-solving, but by the ability to be together. In the natural world, emotional intelligence appears quietly and clearly. When a member of an elephant herd is distressed or injured, others approach, gently touch with their trunks, and stand nearby for a long time, doing nothing else but being there. They do not fix pain. They do not rush healing. Their comfort is a primal message: you are not alone. And notably, this behavior requires no training or reward. It is built into the structure of life. Among primates, relational intelligence reveals itself through a sense of fairness. Famous experiments show that when a monkey receives a smaller reward for the same task, it reacts strongly, refusing cooperation or even discarding the reward. This is not greed, but relational awareness. Their nervous systems measure not only personal gain, but balance within connection. Communities endure only when fairness is maintained. These examples remind us intelligence does not live only inside heads, but between beings. It exists in gaze, in appropriate distance, in rhythmic interactions repeated over time. Jung touched this depth when he wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." C.G. Jung. Emotion in Jungian thought is not something to suppress or eliminate, but a connective current. Empathy does not weaken systems, it stabilizes them. Communities that recognize and respond to emotion need less violence, less rigid control, and recover more easily from crisis. In humans, relational intelligence begins early. Infants lack language and logic, yet regulate emotion through others. Heart rate, breathing, and safety are borrowed from caregivers. This does not disappear in adulthood, it simply becomes subtler. Adults still regulate one another through calm voices, quiet presence, and being heard without being corrected. Jung emphasized that much psychological suffering arises not merely from inner conflict, but from ruptured relationships with others, with community, and ultimately with oneself. He wrote, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself." C.G. Jung. When relational intelligence is wounded, a person may become technically brilliant, yet internally exhausted. When emotion is allowed and responded to, the nervous system enters safety. In that state, intelligence no longer strains, it flows. And here is the gentle whisper of this section before sleep: you do not have to carry everything alone. You do not need to be strong by yourself all the time. Your body and mind are designed to be regulated by another presence, whether a person, a safe memory, or simply a voice whispering in the night. As you lie down and close your eyes, relational intelligence continues working. Your breath slows when you feel accompanied. Your heart softens when you no longer need to defend. And in that gentleness, intelligence ceases to be effort, becoming peaceful connection, a soft foundation upon which you drift into sleep. After passing through planning, simulation, and causal thinking, this journey settles into a deeper region of intelligence, relational intelligence. Here, intelligence is no longer measured by prediction accuracy or outcome optimization, but by the ability to be with, to feel with, and to regulate together within a shared system. In nature, relational intelligence is quiet. It does not perform. It flows beneath the surface. Elephants approach injured or grieving members, touching gently, standing close for long periods. No strategy, no solution. Only steady presence, calming both the wounded individual and the herd. Among primates, relational intelligence emerges as fairness. Experiments show that monkeys protest unequal rewards, refusing cooperation. This is not childishness, but deep relational sensing. Their nervous systems track balance within exchange. Communities persist only when fairness holds. These examples show intelligence lives between beings. It inhabits distance, gaze, rhythm. Jung captured this essence. The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Every relationship is a chemical reaction. No one leaves unchanged. Relational intelligence does not preserve ego. It allows safe transformation. From a Jungian view, emotion is not interference, but connective energy. When emotion is denied, intelligence hardens. When emotion is acknowledged and responded to, the nervous system enters safety, and intelligence functions more naturally, deeply, and efficiently. Relational intelligence begins early. Infants borrow regulation from caregivers. Adults still co-regulate through voice presence and listening without correction. Jung wrote gently, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself." Loneliness is not absence of people, but absence of meaningful emotional connection. When relational intelligence is damaged, people may appear intelligent yet feel empty. When emotion is recognized, intelligence relaxes. This section's lullaby is simple. You do not have to carry everything alone. You do not need to be constantly rational, strong, or alert. Your nervous system is designed to be soothed by presence, a person, a memory, or a quiet voice in the dark. As you lie down and close your eyes, relational intelligence continues. Your breath slows with companionship. Your heart softens when defense is no longer required. In that moment, intelligence becomes not effort, but peaceful connection, a gentle ground for drifting deeper into sleep. Part 17. Collective Intelligence and Distributed Systems. After touching relational intelligence, where emotion and empathy sustain community, the journey moves deeper into an even older layer, collective intelligence. Here, intelligence no longer belongs to an individual nor resides in a single brain, but emerges from coordination among many small parts, each doing only its own task. In nature, ant colonies, termites, bees, and coral reefs exemplify this intelligence. No individual commands, no central brain issues orders. Each ant follows simple rules: follow scent, avoid collision, carry food when found. Yet when millions operate together, something remarkable emerges. Colonies find shortest paths. Termite mounds build complex ventilation. Coral reefs form living cities beneath the sea. Here, intelligence is not individual complexity, but repetition, connection, and interaction. No single part understands the whole, yet the system as a whole knows how to survive. This mirrors Jung's view of the human mind. He did not see personal consciousness as absolute center. Beneath ego lies the collective unconscious archetypal patterns operating beyond personal will. Jung wrote, "The collective unconscious contains the whole spiritual heritage of mankind's evolution, born again in the brain structure of every individual." Just as an ant colony needs no leader ant, the mind needs no ego, controlling everything to function intelligently. Most decisions, emotions, and intuitions emerge from countless interacting processes, biological, cultural, experiential, with consciousness arriving later to narrate them. At the ecosystem level, collective intelligence becomes even clearer. A coral reef is not a single organism, but cooperation among coral algae, bacteria, fish, currents, and light. No master plan exists, yet balance self-maintains until disruption exceeds limits. The lullaby here is gentle. You do not need to control everything in your life. Like nervous systems, societies, and ecosystems, many parts within you already know how to function. Over-control clogs natural flow. Jung warned of ego over-identification. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own souls. Sometimes releasing control is not weakness, but permission for deeper intelligence to speak quietly. Adjusting like ants finding a new path when the old is blocked. Seen through collective intelligence, you are not as alone as you think. Your thoughts arise from language learned. Your emotions carry family culture and history. Even your sleep is regulated by Earth's day-night rhythm. Tonight you may rest within a larger system. You do not need to command sleep. You do not need to order the mind to be quiet. Let the small parts, breath, heartbeat, safe memory, natural fatigue reorganize themselves. Like ants at night, Like coral beneath deep water, intelligence continues working. And now, it is your turn to release yourself and sleep within that gentle, distributed order. Part 18: Human Storytelling Culture and Shared Intelligence. After passing through collective intelligence, where ants, coral reefs, and distributed systems function without command, we return to humans, not as isolated individuals, but as storytelling beings. Humans evolved not only through muscle or brain, but through sharing lived experience via symbols, language, and shared memory. From early childhood, humans live in stories. Before science, before writing knowledge passed through myth, ritual, lullaby. Stories are not entertainment, they are survival maps, teaching danger, safety, and sacred boundaries. One storyteller teaches hundreds without direct experience. Individual intelligence becomes communal intelligence. Biologically, genes change over millennia. Culture does not. A story, symbol, or belief can spread in a generation, even overnight. Culture is humanity's fast evolution layer. Intelligence flows between people. Jung recognized this early man is not born as a tabula rasa, but with an unconscious already in place. This unconscious is not forgotten memory, but a treasury of images and symbols repeated across time. When a fairy tale moves us without explanation, collective intelligence whispers. Language is not just communication, it is intelligence-sharing technology. Through it, we download others' experience. One mind solves a problem. A storytelling community preserves the solution for unborn generations. Shared intelligence thrives on diversity. Each person holds a fragment. Together they form a larger picture. Jung rejected a single truth, trusting dialogue among symbols, cultures, and dreams. He wrote softly, "In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder, a secret order." Human culture appears chaotic, countless stories, beliefs, rituals. Beneath, archetypes repeat endlessly: hero, mother, shadow, rebirth. These patterns allow understanding across time and language. The lullaby here is simple: you do not carry intelligence alone. Others before you have wondered, feared, searched. Their stories still support you. Tonight you may stop thinking. Human intelligence was never solitary. It is a current, a shared memory, a story continuing a story. And as you listen quietly, you are lulled by the shared intelligence of all humanity. Part 19: Intelligence Machines and a New Cooperation. After passing through human collective intelligence, stories, symbols, shared memory, we reach a new threshold: machines that learn. In this gentle narrative space, artificial intelligence is not a threat, but a mirror reflecting how human minds have always functioned. AI does not think like humans. It does not dream, worry, or desire, but it has a special capacity: pattern detection. Within oceans of data, unreadable by lifetimes of humans, machines detect subtle structures. Here, AI resembles an amplified, unconscious recording without judgment. Jung described the unconscious not as chaos, but as unnamed wisdom. The unconscious is not just evil by nature, it is also the source of the highest good. Seen this way, AI resembles a technical unconscious without ego, without self, only pattern recognition. And precisely because it lacks ego, it does not compete. It clarifies. New intelligence does not reside in machines alone, nor in humans alone, but in their intersection. Humans bring intuition, ethics, meaning. Machines bring processing and scale. Together, intelligence resonates. Jung warned against identifying with intellect alone, losing depth, but not against tools themselves. The problem lies in relationship to tools. Man's task is to become conscious of the contents that press upward from the unconscious. If machines help reveal patterns shaping behavior and society, they can assist consciousness. Machines say what is happening. Humans say what it means. In the night's slow rhythm, this is reassuring. You need not outrun machines. Human intelligence was never speed or accuracy. It is feeling empathy, hesitation, and sometimes choosing not to act. AI may amplify intelligence but cannot replace presence. It cannot sleep for you, dream for you, or live for you. Tonight, questions of the future may rest. Machines may compute. The world may turn. And you may rest knowing intelligence does not vanish in sleep, it simply shifts to a gentler, more human rhythm. Part 20. Letting go stillness and sleep after all. These journeys, intelligence in dreams, forests, brainless creatures, culture, machines, and collective memory. There is nothing more to understand tonight. The rhythm slows like a river entering deep water, where flow becomes quiet presence. Here, intelligence is no longer effort. It does not need proof or expansion. It has done enough today. Like the body, the mind must be allowed to rest, not by command, but by gentle release. Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." But tonight, even that is unnecessary. Tonight's darkness is not for exploration, but for holding. No lesson, no symbol, only safety in letting go. Letting go in Jungian spirit is not ego failure, but cooperation between consciousness and unconscious. Consciousness steps aside. Deeper processes take over, wordless, logicalless, lightless. Jung wrote, "The unconscious can make a fool of you in no time, but it can also heal you in ways the conscious mind cannot." Sleep is where this healing is allowed. Quietly, gently. Adjustments occur like dew entering soil. You need not track them. The body and mind know the way. If thoughts pass, let them drift like thin clouds. Do not follow. Do not push away. Intelligence does not disappear when thinking stops. It settles like a seed resting in dark earth. Tonight, you do not need to be anyone. You do not need to know tomorrow. You have done enough. Let sleep come lightly or deeply in its own way. Sleep is not achievement. It arrives when no one commands it. Trust the deeper intelligence that has guided breath and heart for years. Not early, not late, exactly on time. Let everything settle. Let the story end here. Let the rest be completed in silence. Thank you for slowing down. Thank you for not trying anymore. And now, sleep well. Sleep deeply. Sleep safely.